Everyone mourned the billionaire's death. Headlines shouted tragedy, the city dimmed its lights, and a silence heavier than grief settled over the world. The man who built empires was gone, or so everyone believed. But his daughter, Emily, stood alone in the grand hall of their mansion, staring at a phone screen that refused to show the truth she was ready to uncover. She was numb, yet her mind raced. How could a man so powerful, so untouchable, simply vanish from this world without leaving a trace? The police called it a natural death, a heart attack in his sleep. But Emily's gut told her there was something darker lurking beneath the surface. A secret her father took to the grave, or so she thought. That night, a message blinked on her father's old phone. A message from an unknown number, cryptic and chilling. "I'm still here. Find me before they do." Her hands trembled as she read it again, heart pounding louder than ever. Who was sending this? Who was they? And why was her father reaching out from the shadows? Emily's world twisted as she made a choice. To follow the breadcrumbs. No matter where they led. She dove headfirst into a hidden life her father never showed her. Late-night emails encrypted in codes, secret bank accounts scattered across continents, and whispers of people who didn't exist. The billionaire, she thought, she knew was living a double life, a man torn between the power of his empire and the danger of enemies he refused to name. And now, his daughter was caught in the crossfire of a battle far bigger than money or fame. As the clock ticked, Emily realized one terrifying truth. The death everyone mourned was only the beginning. The city had plunged into mourning. Candles flickered in every window, and the billionaire's name was on everyone's lips. But in the silence of her grief, Emily felt a crack, a whisper of doubt that grew louder each passing hour. How could a man so strong, so untouchable, disappear? Without a trace? The official story said natural causes, but she knew the truth was buried deeper, hidden beneath layers of deception. That message on the old phone haunted her. "I'm still here. Find me before they do." Who was they? The unknown sender didn't just want to be found. They warned of a deadly chase. Emily's fingers trembled as she scrolled through encrypted files and strange contacts. Names she'd never heard, places that didn't exist on any map. Every clue pulled her deeper into a labyrinth of secrets. There were nights when shadows seemed to follow her every step. Strange calls in the dead of night, a knock on her door with no one there. Someone was watching. Someone who wanted to stop her before she uncovered the truth. She found a hidden room behind a bookshelf in her father's study. Walls covered in photographs, maps with pins, and dossiers filled with names. It wasn't just a secret life, it was a secret war. Her father had been protecting something much bigger than money or power. He'd been a guardian in the shadows, fighting enemies that no one knew existed. Emily's heart pounded as the weight of the truth crushed her. Her father's death was no accident. It was a cover-up. And now, she was next in line. The one who must carry his legacy, face the enemies he left behind, and live the life he hid from her. Then, in the dead of night, a figure appeared at the edge of the estate. Watching. Waiting. The game had only just begun. She remembered her father not as a titan of industry, but as the gentle man who tucked her in at night, whispering stories of stars and dreams. Behind the cold walls of the mansion, there was a softness she rarely saw, a man desperate to protect his daughter's innocence from a world that could be cruel and unforgiving. Every secret he kept was a shield, built to guard her from dangers she wasn't ready to face. Tears blurred her vision as she held on to memories of simpler times, laughter echoing down sunlit halls, hands held tight through storms. promises, made in whispers. She realized the billionaire she mourned was just a mask, a role he played to keep her safe. Beneath it was a father who loved fiercely, sometimes silently, but always completely. Yet, innocence is fragile. The deeper she delved into his secret life, the more she felt it slipping away. The protective bubble he created had burst, exposing her to shadows and fears she never imagined. But this loss ignited something fierce within her. A resolve, not only to uncover the truth, but to carry forward the purity of love and hope her father fought so hard to preserve. Because sometimes, true strength lies in holding on to innocence, even when the world tries to steal it away. Emily sat alone in the study, the weight of secrets pressing down on her chest like a heavy storm. The man she had idolized was tangled in shadows darker than she ever imagined. Each truth she uncovered tore at the fabric of her childhood, the warmth of his embrace now shadowed by the coldness of his lies. Her heart ached, torn between love and betrayal. How could the protector she knew also be the architect of deception? The walls around her seemed to close in as she faced the reality that her father's life was a maze of sacrifices and betrayals she was only beginning to understand. Late into the night, memories flooded her mind. The quiet moments before sleep, the whispered promises of safety, the smiles that never reached his eyes. Those moments had been his sanctuary from the battles he fought in silence, battles she now realized she was part of whether she wanted to be or not. As the dawn crept in, Emily felt the fragile thread of innocence slipping away. The world was not the place of simple truths she once believed. It was a place of shadows and sacrifices. Yet within that darkness, a new light flickered, a determination to find meaning beyond the pain. Her forgiveness was not immediate, but it grew slowly, like a seed breaking through cracked earth. She reached out with trembling hands, not just to the man who hid behind secrets, but to the father who had loved her fiercely in his own broken way. In that moment, the weight on her heart began to shift. Forgiveness was no longer surrender, but a path to freedom. The legacy she inherited was not just an empire of wealth, but a lesson in resilience, love, and the complicated truth of humanity. Emily stood at the crossroads of past and future, ready to embrace a journey neither of them could have foreseen, a journey shaped by shadows, but guided by the light of newfound understanding. The rain hammered against the mansion's tall windows like 1,000 desperate cries. Inside, Emily stood frozen, clutching the brittle letter she had found hidden in her father's old desk. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the worn paper, each word dripping with secrets and sorrow. My dear Emily, if you're reading this, it means I failed to protect you in the way I hoped. I lived a life of shadows to keep you safe, but the cost was higher than I ever imagined. Her breath caught. The voice behind the letter echoed in her mind, the father she thought she knew, now a stranger tangled in a web of lies and sacrifices. The tears blurred her vision, but she refused to look away. She needed the truth, no matter how painful. Suddenly, a soft creak echoed behind her. She whirled around, heart pounding. Standing in the doorway was the man she believed was dead, her father pale and worn but alive. His eyes, heavy with regret, searched hers. I never wanted you to find out like this, he whispered, voice cracking. I thought disappearing was the only way to protect you from the darkness chasing me. Emily's knees weakened. The storm outside mirrored the tempest inside her. Anger, relief, confusion, all crashing together in a tidal wave of emotion. Why? Why didn't you trust me? Why hide everything?" He took a shaky step forward, reaching out, but unsure. "Because I was afraid. Afraid that if you knew, you'd get hurt. This life isn't safe for anyone I love." The room seemed to shrink as years of silence stretched between them. Then, in a fragile voice, Emily whispered, "I'm not a child anymore. I don't want to live in your shadows. I want the truth, all of it." For the first time in years, he nodded. "Then prepare yourself. The truth is darker than you can imagine." Lightning cracked, illuminating the tears on their faces. Two souls bound by love, pain, and a secret that could destroy them both, or set them free. The mansion's silence was shattered by a sudden piercing scream from the upper floor. Emily's heart lurched as she raced toward the sound, each step echoing her growing dread. She burst into the master bedroom to find the room empty, except for a small, flickering screen on the desk. It was a video, and as the screen came alive, her father's voice filled the room, calm yet urgent. "Emily, if you're seeing this, it means I couldn't tell you in person. There's more to my disappearance than you know. I'm not just hiding from enemies, I'm protecting something or someone you never expected." Her eyes widened as the video shifted, revealing a younger woman standing beside her father. Her mother, whom Emily believed had died years ago. But the woman smiled gently, alive and real, defying everything Emily thought she knew. "The truth," her father continued, "is that I've been living a double life not only as a businessman, but as a guardian for our family's deepest secret. Your mother and I had to fake her death to keep her safe from those who would use her knowledge to destroy us all." Emily's mind reeled. The life she thought was built on lies now revealed a deeper, darker truth. Her father's sacrifices had been unimaginable, and the stakes were higher than she ever dreamed. But then the screen flickered again, and a shadowy figure appeared, a face she recognized too well. Her father's closest ally, now revealed as a traitor. "This changes everything," Emily whispered, feeling the weight of betrayal settle in her bones. The battle was no longer just about survival. It was about reclaiming a legacy stolen from her family and facing enemies who had been closer than she ever imagined. Emily stood alone on the balcony, the city's distant lights flickering beneath a cold moon. Inside, the mansion was silent, a stark contrast to the chaos unraveling in her heart. She clutched a faded photograph, edges worn by years of hidden pain. It was the only proof of a sacrifice no one else knew about. Her father had chosen to vanish, to let the world believe he was dead, not to escape, but to protect her. Every choice he made, every secret he kept, was a silent sacrifice. A burden he bore so she could live untouched by the shadows threatening their family. She remembered the nights he stayed awake, not to build empires but to fight battles she would never see. The whispered phone calls, the coded messages, the guarded glances, all pieces of a life lived in silence and solitude. Emily's tears fell freely now, a release for the weight she had carried unknowingly. Her father's love was a quiet, unspoken force, one that shaped her destiny even in absence. And though the world mourned his death, she understood the true cost of his sacrifice, a life given up to keep hers whole. The cold wind howled around, the mansion's towering walls, but inside, the air was thick with resolve. Emily's eyes burned with a fierce light, a spark ignited by heartbreak, but fueled by something far stronger: determination. The shattered pieces of her family's secrets lay scattered around her, but she was no longer the frightened girl who trembled at the shadows. She was becoming a force, a protector ready to face whatever darkness threatened her legacy. Her father's absence weighed heavily. but it was the weight of his silent expectations that drove her forward. She had inherited more than wealth. She had inherited a mission, a duty to shield those she loved from the dangers lurking in the shadows. And failure was not an option. Each step she took echoed with purpose. The mansion's grand halls felt different now. Not a place of memories lost, but a fortress to defend. Every locked door, every hidden passage whispered secrets that she vowed to unravel, not just for herself, but for the truth that could save or destroy them all. Emily's phone buzzed with encrypted messages, warnings from allies and threats from enemies. Her fingers tightened around the device, her mind racing with strategies. She knew the enemy was watching, waiting for a misstep, but she would not give them that chance. In the quiet moments before dawn, Emily stood by the window, eyes scanning the horizon. The city below slept unaware of the storm gathering around her family. But she was awake, alert, ready. The blood that ran through her veins was not just her own. It was the legacy of protection and courage forged by generations before her. Her voice was steady as she spoke into the secure line. "We move at first light. No mistakes. Protect the innocent, no matter the cost." The words felt heavy, yet they carried the power of unyielding resolve. Emily's heartbeat thundered in her chest as the first rays of dawn painted the sky with streaks of fire. The mansion, usually a symbol of grandeur and safety, now felt like a battleground. Every creak of the ancient wood, every whisper of the wind against the glass, sharpened her senses. She moved silently, her every step deliberate, her mind calculating. Her hands trembled slightly as she checked the contents of her bag. Encrypted drives, emergency contacts, and a worn photograph of her family, the only tangible piece of normalcy left. She pressed the photo to her chest, drawing strength from the memories of laughter and love of a childhood shielded by her father's sacrifices. "Stay focused," she whispered to herself, voice barely audible but fierce. This was not just about uncovering a secret anymore. This was survival, protecting the truth, protecting her family, protecting herself. Suddenly, the sharp beep of her encrypted phone sliced through the silence. A message appeared, coded in a language only she and a trusted few could understand. "Movement near the east wing. Proceed with caution." Emily's breath hitched. The warning was clear. She was not alone. Someone was watching, tracking her every move. She clenched her fists, feeling the surge of adrenaline that replaced fear. No one was going to catch her off guard. She moved swiftly through the dim corridors, every sense on high alert. Shadows seemed to twist and turn with hidden threats, but Emily was undeterred. The mansion held secrets deeper than she'd imagined, and she was determined to uncover them all, even if it meant facing the darkness head-on. As she reached the secret passageway hidden behind the grand library, a flood of memories washed over her. The whispered promises of protection, the silent sacrifices, the unspoken love that had shaped her destiny. This was her inheritance now, and she would carry it with unbreakable strength. The night was far from over, and Emily knew the real battle was just beginning. The room was bathed in pale moonlight, casting long shadows over the scattered papers and forgotten photographs that littered the floor. Emily stood at the center, her heart heavy with the weight of all that had come before. Each faded photo was a memory, some joyous, some painful, but none untouched by the echoes of regret. The silence pressed on her like a physical force, filling every corner with the ghosts of choices she wished she could undo. Her fingers traced the edges of an old family portrait, the smiles frozen in time now seeming like a cruel reminder of what was lost. Her father's face, once a symbol of strength and protection, now looked fragile, marked by the hidden burdens he had carried alone. She remembered the nights she had begged for the truth, the countless moments he had evaded her gaze, protecting her from shadows she wasn't ready to face. But that protection came at a cost, one she was only beginning to understand. The deception, the silence, the distance. They had all been sacrifices made in a desperate attempt to shield her from a darker world. Yet, ironically, it was that very secrecy that had fractured their bond. Emily's chest tightened with a painful ache, a mixture of sorrow, anger, and confusion swirling inside her like a storm. "Why didn't you trust me?" she whispered into the empty room, her voice breaking. "Why did you think I couldn't handle the truth?" The question hung in the air, unanswered but heavy with meaning. Tears welled up as she sank to the floor, clutching the photograph to her chest. Regret wasn't just about the past. It was the recognition that love, even when well-intentioned, could wound deeply. And yet, amidst the sorrow, a fragile thread of hope began to weave itself through her pain. Redemption was no longer an abstract idea. It was a necessity. She realized now that healing would require confronting the shadows they had all tried to avoid. It meant forgiveness, not only of her father but of herself, for the moments she had judged him without knowing the full story. It meant accepting the imperfect humanity in the man she loved and recognizing her own strength to carry their legacy forward. Slowly, Emily rose, her tears drying as a quiet resolve settled over her. The road ahead would be difficult, lined with obstacles and scars, but she was ready. For the first time, she understood that redemption was a journey, a battle against the past, fought one step at a time. She pulled out her phone, hands steady now, and typed a message to her closest ally. "It's time. No more running. We face it all, together." The night outside remained dark, but inside Emily, a light flickered, a beacon of courage born from regret and fueled by an unbreakable will to heal. The night was thick with silence, broken only by the slow tick of the antique clock on the wall. Emily sat alone in the dimly lit study, her eyes fixed on the envelope resting on the desk before her. The air around her felt heavy, charged with the weight of what she was about to uncover. She knew this moment would change everything, her world, her family, her future. With trembling hands, she broke the seal and pulled out the letter inside. The handwriting was unmistakably her father's, careful, deliberate, yet filled with an urgency that made her heart pound. As she read, a shiver ran down her spine. The words spoke of sacrifice, of battles fought in shadows, and a secret that could save them all, but only if she was brave enough to embrace it. Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed from the hallway. Emily's breath hitched. Someone was there, watching, waiting. Her heart raced as she grabbed a small, worn journal, the last piece of her father's legacy, and slipped it into her bag. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but something deeper anchored her in place, a fierce determination not to let fear dictate her fate. Stepping into the corridor, Emily felt the weight of generations pressing down on her. The house, with all its secrets and memories, seemed to hold its breath alongside her. And in that suspended moment, she realized that the greatest power she possessed was not wealth or status, but the courage to face the unknown. Her journey was far from over. The path ahead was shrouded in mystery and danger, but also in hope and the promise of redemption. As the first light of dawn began to seep through the windows, Emily squared her shoulders, a fire igniting within her. The first rays of dawn barely pierced the thick curtains, yet Emily was already moving, silent and swift. Her heart pounded, like a drum in a war march, each beat echoing the stakes that had never been higher. The mansion's secrets pressed in on her, but the fire inside refused to dim. She clutched the worn journal tight, its leather cover cracked but resilient, just like her spirit. Every page held clues, every word a step closer to uncovering the truth her father died protecting. This was no longer just about family, it was about justice, survival, and reclaiming a future stolen by shadows. Footsteps echoed in the hall, distant but closing fast. Emily's breath hitched. She slipped into the narrow passage behind the bookshelf, heart hammering, senses razor sharp. The darkness swallowed her whole, but she welcomed it. It was her shield now. Through the twisting corridors, past, hidden, doors and forgotten rooms, she navigated with a fierce resolve. Every corner might hide an enemy, every whisper could be a trap. Yet she moved forward, fueled by something deeper than fear, a relentless hope. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence, a low, threatening growl from the shadows. Emily froze. Her hand instinctively reached for the small dagger at her waist, a token of protection passed down from her father. The moment stretched, fragile and sharp. Then, from the darkness, stepped a figure. Not an enemy, but an ally. Familiar face, eyes gleaming with urgency and trust. "We don't have much time," the figure whispered. "They're coming for you, and for the truth." Emily nodded, the fire in her eyes blazing brighter than ever. "Then let's show them what it means to fight for family." As the first light finally broke free, flooding the mansion with golden rays, Emily stepped into the dawn, not as a victim of secrets, but as the unbreakable force ready to rewrite her destiny. The storm that had raged within Emily for so long finally began to settle as the first true light of morning spilled. Through the windows, the mansion, once a labyrinth of secrets and shadows, now felt like a sanctuary, a place reborn alongside her own spirit. She stood on the balcony, the cool breeze brushing against her face, carrying away the weight of fear and doubt that had held her captive. The horizon was painted with soft hues of pink and gold, a promise that even the darkest nights must yield to dawn. In her hands, she held the journal, no longer just a relic of her father's hidden life, but a beacon of truth and strength. Every page told a story of sacrifice, love, and courage. The legacy was clear now. Protection was not about hiding in shadows, but about facing the world with open eyes and a brave heart. Emily's heart swelled with a newfound clarity. The path ahead might still be uncertain, but she no longer walked it alone. Allies stood beside her, bonds forged in trust and shared struggle. And most importantly, she had found peace within herself, a peace born not from forgetting the past, but from embracing it and choosing to move forward. She whispered a silent vow to the morning sky, to honor her father's sacrifices by living boldly, loving fiercely, and never letting fear dictate her story. Her journey was far from over, but the shadows had lost their power. Hope had taken root, shining brighter than ever. With a steady breath, Emily turned from the balcony and stepped back inside. The future awaited, not as a mystery to fear, but as a canvas she was ready to paint with courage, resilience, and love. This was not just an ending, it was a beginning.